of a piece with Aziz, and you think that his policy on Israel, his failure to ban the export of all arms to Israel is awful. But you need to provide me with a little bit more detail, champ. Liz is in Cricklade. Liz, what's going on?
Good morning, James. Well, I mean, it's sort of a bit like Brexit all over again. The narrative is out. Starmer's the same as the others, and he's hypocritical because he promised he was going to change everything. And when you turn around and say to these people, he hasn't broken any rules, it just doesn't cut through because they've made up their mind. And it's at the moment, it's immovable. And you say, well, look, he did a really good job after the riots. It was really a relief to have someone statesmanly, actually making things, happen and work and sort that mess out. But now it's all about his clothes and his glasses. And it just, at the moment, I can't see that that's going to change. Even though you say, well, Boris Johnson had all of that wallpaper and all of that free
and this is why you mentioned Brexit, because it's a bit like shouting Project Fear with no evidence whatsoever, as opposed to shouting, look, here's what will happen if we leave, and here's my working, and here's the proof, and then being called a liar.
Yeah. And the difference is when Johnson took over, we all knew it was going to be a car crash, but I think we let him have... he had COVID, but we let him have that chance to get on with it. You think, well, the country's voted for it, so we've got to go with this. But that just hasn't happened with Starmer. Right from the beginning, they've gone for him.
Were you surprised by that?
What, that they've gone for him?
Yeah.
Well, no,
and also,
I know what the right-wing press are like.
No, well, I do too. I mean, it's a bit of a hobby horse of mine. But I'm surprised how weak the... What's the word? How weak the gruel is. I really am. I mean, I know how tabloid journalism works. I know that portraying someone as being in receipt of something that you're not in receipt of yourself. But the confidence with which these blowhards and these Boris Johnson fanboys pretend that what Starmer has done is in any way comparable, let alone worse than what Boris Johnson did. I guess I'm always surprised by the contempt in which they hold their own consumers.
The thing that's fused it, James, is the winter fuel allowance.
Yeah.
It's that.
Which is
it's
bad.
Sort of like you've taken that from the elderly and then you've got all of those freebies yourself. And that's the problem that the Labour Party have got.
And that's a problem of perception.
It is, but also he wasn't particularly popular going in. He's not got the persona. And it needs... I think that, I was thinking about this before I went to sleep last night, worrying about it, because I am worried about 2029 and thinking at some stage, if it doesn't repair itself, they've got to do which we don't really want, but handing over the baton to somebody that is going to win.
Oh, early days, Liz, early days. Good Lord. You're more worried than I am.
I'm always looking forward, and for us 5 years it's not very long, and I'm just thinking if it doesn't improve, they've got to have a plan because we can't.
But then we're back to all the things we said we didn't want anymore. We're back to kind of beauty contests and personality contests and people who seem like good eggs, and rather than boring bureaucratic pragmatists.
Capital. If he'd gone in and actually said, you know what, I'm going to get rid of these Brexit red lines and move this forward, he would have a much stronger base behind him. But he's lost the room from everybody. Remainers are not happy, which is a large majority of the country now. And he's lost that, he's got nobody really propping him up. Who is he standing for? We don't know. And that's really where he is. So he does need a big step change, and I'm being scary, I guess, because I don't want to change. I don't want to go through another farce of a leadership election. I want him to win the hearts and minds of the people, but he needs to really grab this moment now and get on the front foot and start.
Well, I'm not sure he does. I'm not sure he does yet. I mean, he certainly needs to between now and 2029, but I would not be surprised if they were a lot more worried about the suboptimal state of number 10 Downing Street, which you can chalk up to both inexperience and naivety, one of which is forgivable, one of which perhaps is not, than they are about the state of the newspapers. I coined that word a couple of weeks ago. They don't suffer from front page phobia. Maybe they should actually have a little bit of front page. They should be maybe a little bit more concerned about, you're not allowed to use this word on my program, optics. But if you're struggling, not Liz, but if anyone is struggling to understand how mad things are, then someone who wasn't outraged by Boris Johnson's behaviour, what on earth can they be cross with Keir Starmer about? So there is the question. If you weren't outraged by Boris Johnson or Liz Truss, or even by Rishi Sunak coming back early from D-Day, I mean, these epic gaffes, these huge disasters, the tripling of your mortgage payments, the lying about gold wallpaper, or he denies it was gold, but tens of thousands of pounds spent tarting up a flat that Theresa May had moved out of the day before, but which he was claiming yesterday looked like a crack den. If you weren't outraged by that, what on earth can you be outraged by that Keir Starmer has done? That's the problem, and that is why it's like Brexit, because as soon as I say that, all of the certainty, all of the outrage disappears. Hey, maybe it doesn't. Maybe you can tell me, hey, I had no problem at all with Boris Johnson's amorality, with Liz Truss's epic incompetence, with Rishi Sunak's awfulness and promotion of people like Suella Braverman, but the reason why I've got it in for Keir Starmer is 0345 6060 973. Thomas Watts is here now.